And okay, we're recording. So now I'm gonna, okay, you guys should be seeing our website. So, oh, perfect. Thank you for acknowledging. And this is interactive. If you have questions at any point, please just unmute and ask your question. We'll talk about it as we go, or you can save your questions for the end. That's totally okay. I'm going to just go through all the information that we have. So maybe this takes a full hour. If we have a lot of questions, it might go quicker. But with that, we're going to jump in because I want to respect your time. And I appreciate you guys joining me this evening. So the grant that we're going to discuss today, as many of you are aware, you probably got this information from the flyer that I released or from one of our cities sharing it on social media. It is a regional grant. The money is going to funnel through the city of Lancaster, which we'll talk about here in a second. So you're going to see a lot of our 4 cities. I work for our 4 cities: Cedar Hill, Duncanville, DeSoto, and Lancaster. So you're going to see the various city logos kind of throughout this whole thing. So you're probably wondering, well, why is Duncanville hosting the website, but Lancaster's the one giving us the money? It's because I work for all of them. And so it's kind of split up among the 4. But I'll try to explain it in the best ways possible so that it makes sense to all of you. So the city of Duncanville did graciously agree to host the website for this Safe Room program. And so I just wanted you to be aware that this website does exist. So if at any point you have questions, the recording for this also will be hosted on this website. If you just do a quick search in Google of Duncanville Safe Room, then this is the first option that pops up and it'll bring you directly to this website. So I won't read this to you. A lot of this information is in the guidelines that I am going to go through in detail, but I just want to scroll down so you can see. So information about our virtual meeting is here. The recording will get placed here later this week once the recording is done and gets emailed to me. Tomorrow is an in-person version of this. You're already here, but if you want to come 2 days in a row, you're more than welcome to. But if anyone missed it today, they have a chance to come in person tomorrow at the Lancaster Rec Center. The program guidelines and application, which leads all of you that are interested in the program from beginning all the way till the end, close out of getting your grant funds. It details everything. And so that's what we're going to go into detail over tonight. That program timeline is going to be broken down in those guidelines. So we're going to go over that in a second, as well as how to apply. But I do want to make you aware in the guidelines, it breaks down some options. I tried to make it as accessible to people as possible. So starting April 1st is when anyone who's interested in the program is able to submit their application. To make it fair, I'm not accepting any before that. If someone tries to submit it to me, I'm just going to hand it back and say, I'm so sorry, I can't take it. Please come back April 1st, just to be fair to everybody. But I wanted to give this buffer between when we launched the program publicly at the beginning of March till accepting applications in April. I wanted to give everyone the same amount of time to review the requirements, maybe start contacting vendors to get pricing, to really make sure this is something you want to do. So that way, when you submit an application, I know that this is something you really want to do. And then as soon as I review and acknowledge that you meet all the criteria and I say, go ahead and proceed, right? Everyone who gets the go ahead is going to proceed with the work is the goal. So I bring that up to say on April 1st, a online application will be added to this website. So if you're an online tech savvy person and you'd rather complete your application online, you can come back to this website on April 1st and submit the application right on this page. You can also, in the guidelines and application that you already have access to, save that PDF version. It's fillable. You can save that on your computer and you can email it to me April 1st, or you could fill it out online, print it, bring it to me in person at the Duncanville Fire Administration Building. That's where I office. So to make it fair, we'll just have everything get turned in there. Or if you're not a tech savvy person and you'd rather get a paper copy of the guidelines and application, I have some printed for you. You can just come to Duncanville Fire Administration, ask for a packet. They're right at the very front as soon as you walk in. Take it with you, fill it out, bring it back April 1st. And then down here at the bottom, we just have some more helpful links. These ones are also in the application and guideline packet, so you're not missing anything. And then just contact information down here from my office. So it's myself, and I have a specialist who works with me. And so this email will go to us. This phone number will ring to me directly, but the two of us will be working on this grant program together with everyone who applies and gets accepted. Any questions at all about this website? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to stop sharing that. We're going to test my tech savviness tonight, and I'm going to pull up our guidelines. And I pulled these up directly from the website. So when you were on the website, if you scroll down to where it said program guidelines and application, it was a hyperlink. If you just click that link, it pulls up this page as you're looking at it right now on my screen. So this is what guides us from beginning to end. So this one I am going to go through in detail. And if you've already read it, you know, I hate to be those professors that we had in school that just read you exactly what was on the slide. But I want to make sure that we don't miss anything. And so like I've mentioned earlier, if you have any questions at any point, feel free to unmute, interrupt me. I can't see you on the screen, so don't raise your hand and try to flag me down. I can only see the page that we're going to read from. So please just interrupt if you need to. So if I need to make this bigger at all, please just let me know. I'll go ahead and just zoom in a little bit. Okay. So to kind of summarize, our 4 cities, Cedar Hill, DeSoto, Duncanville, Lancaster, which we'll just call the Best Southwest to make it easy, are doing this joint safe room program. It is a grant. So a lot of you have been waiting about 2 years for this grant to actually go through, get funded, which luckily it got funded. A lot of us were very excited about that. The money is coming ultimately from FEMA. That gets funneled to the state of Texas. That money then gets funneled to our program, which will come through the city of Lancaster. So this packet contains all the information, the steps that you need to follow from beginning of submitting an application, every required step along the way, all the paperwork that we need, how you're going to get the money at the end of it, etc. I do want to make you aware, right? Failure to comply or complete any of the required documentation or steps could result in loss of eligibility to get your reimbursement rebate. That's not me trying to make this difficult. There's a lot of requirements from FEMA and from the state of Texas. And so I tried to spell those out very clearly in here so that you know exactly what you need to do, because I want you to get the money. I want all of you to install safe rooms, and I want all of you to get reimbursed the full amount that you're eligible for. So eligible homes. This is open to homeowners within the cities of Cedar Hill, Duncanville, DeSoto, and Lancaster. This applies to single family dwellings and also, what is the word? Duplexes. I apologize. I did have a resident review this and email me a question, which I love. If you have questions at any point in the process, even before submitting your application, feel free to contact me. I didn't have any verbiage in here about duplexes, so I reached out to the state and asked. Duplexes are eligible. Those are considered single family dwellings. This is not eligible, like if you're in an apartment or anything like that. It must be a single family dwelling. You must also not be in a FEMA floodplain. If you're aware that you're in a floodplain, then I recommend you don't apply. But if you're unsure, a part of my step when I get your application is I have to look up your address in the FEMA floodplain mapping system, and I have to fill out a form for every address. So I will validate that. And if you apply and are in a floodplain and therefore not eligible, I will let you know the reason. If you're not in a floodplain and you then are eligible to participate, I will let you know that as well. So I will handle the floodplain verification. If your home is registered as a historical home with the state of Texas or the federal government, if it's over 45 years old and is a registered historical home, there's some extra steps we have to take, right? Your home has been protected as a historical site, and it's a lot harder for you to go in and do construction work on that home. It's still possible, but there's just extra steps. So on the application, it's going to ask you that question. And if you say yes to being a historical home, you and I will just have to work more together to verify with the state and with FEMA that you are eligible to participate in this program. If that doesn't apply to you, then that's one less thing that you need to worry about on the application. You would just check no as to not being a historical home. So safe rooms and storm shelters. For the purpose of this program, a safe room is an above or below ground unit that is built on site in your house or can be prefabricated and then installed on site. This is great because it really leaves it up to you. You're the homeowner. I don't want to come in and tell you what you need to build and where you need to put it. You would work with the vendors to follow the guidelines outlined by FEMA. Any vendor that you use, make sure you ask them. There's some requirements spelled out further in this guidelines of something you could specifically say. Are you familiar with FEMA? And there's guidance, and I'll tell you that exact verbiage here in a second. And they should be able to say yes. They need to say yes. If they're not familiar with that, then I would probably recommend contacting another vendor just to make sure that they are aware of FEMA's guidelines, can follow them exactly, right? So there's no jeopardy of you putting in a safe room that's not compliant.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some rules in the FEMA guidance, which are linked on the website that I showed you earlier and further down in this template. I've read all of them. They're very long and very technical of exactly how they have to be built and the wind speeds they have to withstand. And if a piece of plywood is flying through the air, it has to be able to withstand it at a certain force. You can read all of that if you want to, but your vendor should know all of those things and is supposed to be able to construct a safe room that meets those requirements. So just make sure that they can do that before you start the work would be my recommendation to you. The rebate program. So this is a rebate program. You as the homeowner are going to pay for the total cost of your safe room up front out of pocket. So for example, if I get admitted to the program, I submit my application, you get the yes, go ahead. I find a vendor. We work together to pick out that I want it to be in above ground, maybe in the corner of my garage. They're going to anchor it to my foundation, or I want to build it underground next to the house. Here's where the door is going to be. Right. I get to choose that with my vendor, complying with city code, of course. As the homeowner, I'm going to pay the full amount. So if it costs me $6,000, I pay for all of it. And then at that point, you work with me at the city to submit all your paperwork to then get a rebate, right? You're going to get money back. So it's up to half of the cost of the safe room that you install, capped at $3,000. So if my safe room was $6,000 and I submitted all the correct paperwork, half of that would be $3,000. I could get that full $3,000. Mm-hmm. If I put in a bigger safe room or it just cost more money, say it was $9,000, half of that, right, would be $4,500. It's still only capped at $3,000. The max you can get is $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
But the perk of this, right? Some people might not love that. You want more money back, and I understand. I would too. But at least with this program, you are offsetting some of your cost. You are going to get some of your money back, which I think is great. Right. It's not mm-hmm. retroactive. If you've already installed a safe room in your home, you can't apply for this program to then get money back. You can only start construction of a safe room after you've applied and after I've contacted you to say, yes, you have been accepted. You meet all the requirements. Please go ahead. And there's a formal letter that I'll send you to mark the start of that timeline. So please just keep that in mind. I definitely recommend reaching out to some vendors and just talking prices, talking timelines, but just don't start any work. Don't sign any contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Homeowners must complete all program steps to be eligible to receive the rebate. And we're going to go through all the steps. This is a long document at 13 pages. I'm a very thorough person. You're going to learn from seeing this document that I created and from working with me through this. But I love to make things hopefully as easy to understand as possible. So bear with me with our 13-page document. There are eligible and ineligible costs, and there's a table further down that we'll review that tells you what is allowable. Basically, it's all the structural things for your safe room. And then most of the ineligible costs, if there's any damage to your safe room, that's not eligible. Any landscaping outside, painting on the inside because you want it to look nice, which I understand, right? But FEMA does not count that as eligible costs. You can pay for that when you put in your safe room. If they're already there and they want to paint it a nice color, you can have them do that. Just the cost of that painting will not go towards the total that we submit to FEMA. The number of safe rooms available for funding. I asked for enough money to fund at least 40 safe rooms. And the way that I calculated that was, say every safe room that gets into this program gets the full of the full $3,000 that's allowable. So if everyone got the 3,000, I could afford to have 40 safe rooms. If someone builds a safe room and it's only $3,000, so they only get reimbursed 1,500, then that's a little money still left in the pot, and we might be able to squeeze a couple people in. But this will pay for at least 40 safe rooms. If we get 60 people that apply, there's two things we could do. I could ask FEMA for additional funding, or those people will go onto a wait list, and then I will just apply for this grant again, and we'll just keep doing this until nobody wants more safe rooms. There was a question. I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. With the number of cities that this is covering, is that 40 divided by the cities, or is that 40 if 20 come from DeSoto and 20 come from Lancaster, then that's that, or is it divided in any kind of way?
Great question. It's 40 total. 40 total. And the way that I came to that number, I promise I didn't just pick it out of the sky. You guys remember 2 years ago, I put out the interest flyer that just said, hey, we might do a safe room program. If we do, who would be interested? And Dr. Singleton was interested because he's the one who gave me the idea. But 40 people over 2 years, well, sorry, at that point was a year. 40 people over a year reached out to me having interest. And so I just chose 40 because that's kind of the amount that we had at that time.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Great question. Okay. Our application timeline. So March 3rd is when we released the packet to the public. The website on the City of Duncanville's page went live. The online application portal, though, that I showed you on the website is not open yet. That'll open April 1st. Today is the 19th. We're doing our virtual town hall just to go over the program, answer any questions. Tomorrow, Thursday, the 20th at 6:30 is the in-person version of this. So if you have more questions or you're just having so much fun, you can join me again tomorrow night. Or if you're aware of people who are interested but couldn't make it tonight, tomorrow's another great opportunity for them to talk face-to-face. This recording, because I'm recording our session right now, will be put on the Safe Room website, as I mentioned earlier, so people can watch it at a later date. The big day for all of you is going to be Tuesday, April 1st. That's when the application period opens. I'm not going to accept applications before that, just to keep it fair. The online application portal on the website will go live. Applications can get emailed to me, or they can get turned in person to Duncanville Fire Administration. And the address for that is just a little bit further down in this application. So all of you on the call today and anyone else who's interested, I would recommend from today through the day before April 1st, start looking at pricing, start really deciding if this is something you want to do. If it is, have the application filled out. And then as soon as you're available April 1st to get that turned into me, then get it submitted. The website I showed you earlier, here's a link to it in the document. It's live. So if you open the document on your computer and click that, it'll take you straight to the website that we looked at. The town halls, again, like we talked about, just to go over information, answer questions. The application selection process. I wanted to be as fair as possible in this, so applications will be accepted on a first come, first served basis, which is why they're all going to be open to be turned in on the same day. They'll be reviewed in the order that they're received by my office. So if someone submits it online and the timestamp is 8:01 a.m. and then somebody walks into the fire department and drops it off, we're going to write the time at the top of 8:05, right? So 8:01 will go on top and then 8:05, and that's the order that will go through to check their eligibility, verify that they're actually in one of our 4 cities, verify that they're not in a floodplain, and then we will contact them in that order to say, you've met all requirements. Are you ready to do this? Would you like to be accepted to the program? If the answer is yes, they become our number 1 person on the list. The person after that becomes number 2, all the way until we fill all 40 spots. Anyone after the 40 spots will be put on a wait list that I have ready to go in order of approval. So they'll just get put on there in that same type of order. They will be made aware that they're on a wait list. If they don't want to do and want to be taken off, that's okay. But if they want to stay, they would stay there. And if at any point someone from the original list changes their mind, doesn't want to participate anymore, then the members on the wait list will get moved over to the approved list in that same order.
Really
The-
quick, I have a question.
Of course.
Yes, I was wondering what time does the online application go live? Would that be at business hours or does it go live literally at 12 a.m. on April 1st?
That's a great question. Let's say 8 a.m. I don't control the website, unfortunately, or else I'd have a better answer for you. And I
Okay.
don't see our Duncanville communications director on the call right now, but I will work with him tomorrow to beg and plead and ask that he have it where it can turn on at 8 a.m.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Great question. I apologize. That's something that I should have factored in and just written in here, but you got me. That was one I didn't think about. Okay. Program participation timeline. So program applicants are required to complete their safe room installation within 1 year of program acceptance. So April 1st, say you get the go ahead to proceed April 1st. I per these requirements would like you to have your safe room built and completed by April 1st of next year. The reason that is because this grant, we have until 2027 to spend the money. And so I want to give time for homeowners to work with the vendor and go through all the correct channels of going to the city and get your permits, et cetera. I want you to have time to actually do the work to get it complete. But if someone backs out for some reason, is not able to complete it, I want to leave enough time for someone to come off the wait list and still have time to complete a safe room. I did reach out to 2 different safe room installers just to say, hi, I'm Lauren, I'm doing this program. What is it? How long does it typically take to install one of these? Is 1 year asking too much? Is that enough time? And they agreed that a year is plenty of time. Even if material was taking a long time to get delivered, which we've seen sometimes some supply chain issues. They said typically they can work with a homeowner, get stuff moving, get things put into a house, do final reviews within just a couple months, 3 months, 6 months at the latest. So a year should be enough time. If you're accepted to the program and can't meet that deadline, get with me. Let's work through it as soon as we possibly can. But I'm asking that everyone have the work done within a year. Canceling your participation. This is not a mandatory program. If you change your mind at any point about participating, you would just need to contact myself or my emergency management office, which the contact information is right here at the bottom of this same screen. And you would just let us know that you're withdrawing from the program. The only caveat with that is any costs that you have incurred up to that point are the responsibility of the homeowner. The only way you're eligible for a rebate is if you complete the program from beginning to end. Receiving the rebate. So I will work with every homeowner throughout the course of them building their safe room to make sure that they're saving the required documents. They can send it over to me as they have it. They can save it until the end and then send it over to me. But it'll be my emergency management team that is going to collect all that required documentation from each homeowner. We'll put it together in a package that the state requires. We submit it up to the state. They want us to do it in batches each quarter. So let's say that there's 5 homes in our program that complete their safe room. I go and do the in-person review. I take the pictures that I need. I get all your documentation, and I'm going to submit it within a quarter, right? So say it's the first quarter of 2026. Those 5 homes will get submitted together at the end of that quarter. Anyone else right after that is going to have to wait until the end of the next quarter for me to submit it in batches. I tried to fight the state on that to see if I could just submit them once they're complete to make it quicker for you, and they don't want me to do that. So we'll do it in batches. Once it's received by the state, they are going to review it, make sure we didn't miss anything, and then they are going to release those rebate funds for the 5 homes that I submitted to the City of Lancaster's finance department. As soon as Lancaster gets it, at that point, you would have already completed the required Lancaster vendor packet that I will give you before that step, where you'll sign, or you'll fill out a W-9. They'll get some information from you so that they can mail you a check. That'll get turned into Lancaster Finance. So once they have your packet and your money in hand is when they're going to issue you that check. So because it's not just me controlling the funds, there's a couple other steps. It could take up to 8 to 12 months, longest, for you to receive your rebates after you've given me your final documentation. Do I think it's really going to take that long? I don't. But I wanted to put kind of the long one here just so that you're okay with that. If you wouldn't be okay with waiting that long, possibly for your funds, then maybe think about applying for the program, because I can't promise that it'll be quicker, but based on other programs, I think you'll get your rebate quicker than that. Information.
I have a question.
Yes, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question about that. So with with that timeline, right? The funds are already earmarked for sure, like they're, from the federal government, and they're cutting programs left and right. So is there a chance that if I submit for a refund and then they say we're doing away with FEMA and the programs that support FEMA rebate programs, is there any safeguard there still ensure that I'm going to get my money, or am I still going to be impacted?
That's a really great question. And when all of that started happening with our current administration in FEMA, I contacted the state immediately and had the same question for this grant and for all the other grants that the city is managing right now. The answer that I was told by the state is, at the city level, when we are awarded this grant, we get what's called an award letter, and we have to take it to council and they have to approve it. The city manager has to sign it. That is then a legally binding contract between the city, the state as the right funnel, the pass through of the funds, but essentially a contract between the city and the federal government. And so the state told me that if your award letter has already been signed, there should be no chance of future changes to grants affecting this grant that has already been signed. And ours has already been signed, which is why I didn't send anything out to you guys until we took it and got it signed. Could I be proven wrong and something really crazy happen? It could. I'm not going to promise and say it won't, but it would be this grant and it would be every other grant that we have, and it would be a disaster. However, I have been told by the state that that is not supposed to happen, and it's not something that they're worried about. They're saying that what they're hearing from the federal government is that anything that's already been signed should not be impacted. If I hear any differently or whispers of hearing differently, then I will notify all of you immediately. But I don't think we're going to get to that point.
All right, thank you.
I know I wish I had a better answer, but that's what we're hoping for, and that's what I've been told. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Information retention. So I'm required by FEMA internally to keep all of our grant documents. They're not going to be publicly accessible, right, where anyone can just come and see your information. I just keep those in a folder in my office like I do for all of our grant requirements, just in the event of audits from the state or from FEMA. Typically, I have to keep them for 5 years after we close the grant. It could change if FEMA decides we need to keep them longer, but typically it's 5 years. The other thing that we are going to share, and that you would be agreeing to by applying for this program, is the GPS location of the safe room that you put on your property. We're going to share that with our 911 system. So Cedar Hill, Duncanville, DeSoto will get shared with SWRCC, which is our dispatch center for those 3 cities. If you're in the city of Lancaster, it'll go to Lancaster 911. The reason being, right, the whole purpose of these safe rooms, if we have a bad storm come through, you shelter in them. Say your house collapses, but you're safe in your safe room, but it's buried under debris. We want to be able to look in our 911 system, find all the houses that have safe rooms, so we can send responders exactly to your safe room to open the door to see if anybody's in there that needs help. So the location of your safe room will be saved with our 911 centers. This is the contact information for my office if you at any point have questions. So our guideline, our steps for the program. So step 1, you apply for program participation. You'll complete the application, which is located in this packet. You must complete all fields, and you also need to include proof of home ownership, which can be a property tax statement listing the name that's on your application would match the one that's on the tax statement, or a copy of the deed also with matching names, just to show that you're the rightful homeowner who's going to make these construction changes to the home. If you're submitting online on the portal, it'll have the option for you to attach it. If you're going to email it to me, just make sure you also attach that. If you're going to bring it to me in person, just have one of those printed off. Don't bring me the original. You need to keep the original, but just make a copy and bring me one of those copies. Was there a question?
You answered it.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
Perfect. You're going to return the application and required documentation to my office via website, email, or in person. Here's the address for fire administration. It's 1530 South Main Street in Duncanville. Submitting the application doesn't guarantee your acceptance, right? We've talked about I have to verify a couple things. First, verify that your address is in one of our cities. Also verify that you're not in a FEMA floodplain, and I'll do that with the FEMA floodplain system. There's a form I have to fill out to go with your packet. I will also verify the resident's ownership through the document that you give me. And if you said that your house is a registered historical home, then I'll go through those extra steps, also looping in the homeowner for us to go through those extra steps together. If you are deemed not eligible because you don't meet one of these criteria, my office is going to contact you. You will know that you're not eligible. If you are eligible, you are also going to get notified. You'll receive written communication from my office that you've been accepted. So we're going to contact you via email on the emails that you put on your application, and we're also going to call you. I want to make sure that you know. It's at this point that we've communicated and I've let you know that you've been accepted to the program. I'm going to email you a formal letter saying that you've been accepted. It's at this point that you can begin work on your safe room. So the next step for you after being accepted is you and or your selected safe room installer is going to contact the city that you live in, contact their building department, and apply for a building permit. All 4 cities require you to have a building permit to do this type of work on your property. So you'll secure the building permit prior to beginning work on your safe room. All requirements for your city's building permit must be followed. Keep your permit fee invoice and your proof of payment, because that money that you pay to secure your building permit for your city counts towards your safe room costs. And so we can submit that to try to get some of that money back to you. Step 4, then you're going to work with your safe room installer contractor to install the safe room that you've chosen on your property that complies with all the requirements and FEMA. Sorry, my dog is right here making a lot of noise. Please stop. In guidance P320, which the link of it is right here. And that's the document that I was telling you about, has all the specifications for a safe room. And that's something that I recommend when you are talking to installers, ask them that very specifically. Do you have experience with safe rooms? Are you familiar with FEMA P320? And you can meet all requirements in that document. The ones that I've contacted that were on these lists that I've sent here, which I'll talk about in a second, we're all familiar. They do this all the time. So just make sure the one that you choose is also familiar with this. I can't give you recommendations for companies. You also do not have to choose any of the contractors on these lists. These are just lists that exist out there that other cities who have done safe room programs have posted these association links. Just because if I've never thought of a safe room before, you might not know where to look. But these associations have vetted installers, and so that's just a place that you could start. If you choose one from this list, still do your due diligence, make sure that they can comply with these guidelines. You can ask to see examples of prior work, all the things that you would do with any company that you're going to hire. But these lists are here in case you just want a starting point. Recommendations from me, but not requirements, prior to you starting physical work on your property. Research the type of safe room best suited for you. Maybe you don't want to dig underground. It's more expensive. The ground here is usually not the easiest to dig into. So you can go above ground, right? But figure out, do you want it in your garage? Do you want it outside of your home, but still touching the home? Also make sure it's big enough for the size of your family, right? Don't leave anybody out. And even though my dog is interrupting our call, I still have to take my dog with me right to the safe room. So make sure that it's large enough to accommodate everyone who needs to go in there for safety. And discuss this with your contractor, which will then help them give you some pricing, right? I would love for you to have some pricing up front before you apply so that you can really think if this is something that you want to commit to. It's also recommended that you pay for your safe room by check or credit or debit card so that proof of payment is easier to secure. If you pay for cash, oftentimes the vendor won't give you some type of printed receipt, and FEMA needs a printed receipt. So if you can do it by check or credit and debit card so that you have those, a proof of the check payment going through, credit card, debit card statements of it going through, plus a receipt that they could send you. It just makes it a little bit easier on the back end when we work together on documentation. If you do pay cash, just make sure you get a printed statement or invoice from them. Just specifically ask them for something with a zero balance. Requirements upon your safe room installation completion. So you've worked with your vendor, they're installing your safe room. It is required that they have to put in a door label or a seal in the safe room. And if they're familiar with the FEMA requirements, they're very aware that they must do this. This is one of the things that I have to come take a picture of when I come physically look at your completed safe room. FEMA requires that the seal be in here. The city also does too, because you're installing a safe room. So make sure that they have a seal in the safe room on the door, and my team will come take a picture of this later. The contractor also must provide you a certificate of installation form, and it has a lot of information on there with the safe room details. This is one required by FEMA. So I have to get this from you, signed by your contractor to submit to them. But this is also great for you. If for whatever reason you ever sold your house, you have this proof of safe room with all the details that you might forget over the years to give to the new homeowner, which is great. Let's see. Most contractors have their own version of this form. The two that I reached out to prior to releasing this information have their own form that they use, and they are approved by FEMA. But if they don't have one for some reason, the very last attachment of this packet is the state's version of this form that you could just print out and have them fill out. This form, the certification installation form, whether you use the contractors or the state form, must be notarized. The contractors don't love that because it's an extra step, but FEMA requires it. So just work with your contractor to make sure that it does get notarized. Request and keep all documentation from this step for later submittal. So all the documentation that we talked about of you paying for the safe room, getting your installation form, making sure that the seal is installed in the door, make sure all that's complete just to make it easier for us later. Once your safe room is done, it has been built. The next step is for you to schedule a building inspection with your city. So you're going to contact the building inspection office again, let them know that the work is done. They're going to set an appointment so they can come do their building safety inspection. At that point, I would recommend that you also reach out to my office and say, hi, Lauren, the city's going to come out on Thursday at 2. Is there any way you could also come at the same day? Because my team also has to come out to take some pictures. And to make it easier for you, if we could all just come at the same day, so you don't have to be home 2 times, let's try to do that. If schedules don't allow, we have to choose another day, then we'll do that. But feel free to reach out to me to let me know the time that the building department's coming, and I'll try to have my team go on the same day. Keep the inspection fee. If the city does charge you an inspection fee to come out, keep all of that documentation because we can include that. My team will not charge you an inspection fee because we're the ones administering this program for you. So step 6, I just talked about, you will have to schedule a safe room visit from my team to come look at your safe room. We're coming out to verify that it's there because FEMA wants us to. We also have to take some pictures. We have to take a picture of the safe room far away, a picture of the safe room close up, and a picture of the seal that's on the safe room door. And then there's a form called a site visit form that my team will bring with us with just some basic information. You'll sign it at the end, just saying that we came out, we took the pictures, everything's done, and then we will leave. At that point, if you have all your documents printed and you've been waiting to give them to us, you could give it to us then. If you've been emailing it to us, you can do it that way as well. Step 7, maintain all required documentation as specified in this guide, because you have to submit all of that to my team. So now that the safe room is done and inspections are complete, make sure I have all your documents. Like I said, whether you've sent them throughout the process or you've been compiling to give them to me at the end. And here's information on how you can do that, either via email or in person. Step 8 is for my team to then, like we talked about earlier, submit all of that documentation to the state, then to FEMA. The state's going to review it, FEMA's going to review it. The documentation will be submitted quarterly, right, by my team to the state. They want it done in batches. Once it's approved by the state and FEMA, your rebate funds will be sent to the city of Lancaster, who's handling the funds. And then they are going to, using the vendor packet that you've submitted to me that I gave to Lancaster, they have your information on how to get the check to you. They will cut you a check for your reimbursement amount, which I will make you aware of before you get the check in the mail. I'll reach out to you because I'll know what was approved. We'll have an amount that I think you're eligible for. And if that amount was approved by FEMA and the state, you'll be aware. If the FEMA and the state didn't approve a certain amount of it, I will make you aware of that. It won't be a surprise when you get the check. Let's see, you will be given a Lancaster vendor packet. That's where you'll fill out the required W-9. I'll make sure you have that done and submitted to Lancaster before the money is ready for you, just to make it quicker. Then Lancaster will send you your rebate check, and then I'll follow up with you just to make sure that you got the money and to say, congratulations, you're now done with this program. And so it's at that point, once you have your rebate check in hand, that you're officially done, and you can just enjoy your safe room. Hopefully not ever have to use it, right? Because we don't want that. But if you did have to use it, it's ready to go. Here is that table I mentioned of the eligible and ineligible costs. I won't read through all of these. You guys can look through them. All of the stuff that's eligible is typically your structural components, the stuff that your safe room is required to have to even make it a usable safe room. A lot of the things that are not eligible are kind of the beautification things. I want to paint it. I want landscaping. I want certain fixtures inside of it. You want security cameras on the inside of it. That kind of stuff is not eligible. You can still put it in there yourself if you want to. It's just those specific costs we will take out of the amount that we are going to send to FEMA, and I will make you well aware of that before I submit those costs on your behalf. Terms and conditions. So these are just things you have to be able to agree to before applying in order to be eligible. You have to live in one of our 4 cities. You have to be the homeowner of the property where you want to build the safe room. You cannot be in a 100-year floodplain or in a special flood hazard area. You can only install a safe room on land that has been significantly disturbed before, which is basically saying if it's an empty lot and there's nothing there, you can't put your safe room there. It needs to be on the property where your home is. You understand that this program is not retroactive. You cannot already have a safe room and try to get funding for that. It's only for safe rooms that were put under contract, constructed, and installed after you were approved for this program. Don't work with a company that has been debarred, suspended, and there's some websites that you could check. I could send you that information if you're interested, but you could also ask the contractor. So do your due diligence there as well. Understand that this is a reimbursement program and all expenses incurred will be paid by the homeowner, then given to me to submit to FEMA to get a portion of that reimbursed. You do have to agree to share your taxpayer ID, which is your social security number, via the Lancaster vendor packet W-9. It's only going to be on that form sent to the city of Lancaster. It will not get shared anywhere else. That doesn't even go to FEMA or to the state. That's solely so Lancaster Finance Department can issue you your check. Agree to allow a final inspection of the safe room by the building department and also by my team. You have to allow us to share the GPS coordinates of your safe room with the 911 centers. You understand that your participation in this program is completely voluntary, but that participation in the program does not guarantee receipt of a rebate check. You have to meet all the requirements in order for you to be eligible. But if you follow everything in here, then you will be eligible. Understand that non-compliance and failure to submit required documents could cause a delay in getting your rebate or could result in disqualification for the program. If we're missing documentation, if FEMA disagrees with something we're submitting for, I am going to fight it on your behalf. I'm going to call you and I'm going to say, hey, I think we were just missing proof of payment. Could you print this out for me? Or could you send me this form? Or FEMA didn't love this one. Do you have something else? I play this game with them for all the grants we have with the city. And so I'll do the same thing with this program working with you. If we tried to fight it and FEMA is not going to agree that something is eligible, then I will let you know that. But we're going to try really hard to make sure everything we submit is everything that they need so that there's no issue with them issuing your funds. Okay, required documentation. So I know throughout the document, I've listed a lot of things, but I wanted to have it in one place too. So this is a checklist I made for you kind of just throughout the process when you're building the safe room to make sure you have these things as you go. So your proof of home ownership, you have to send to me at the beginning. So as long as you did that, you could check that off. Your itemized installer invoice, right? Once they come and they install the work, they're going to have an itemized invoice for you of everything that they're going to be doing. Save that. Once it's completed, they're going to give you a certificate of installation. Check that off. When you contacted the city to get your building permit, keep a copy of the building permit. Also keep a proof of payment that you paid for that building permit. Also have a proof of payment that you paid the installer for the safe room. And then you'll also need to send me your Lancaster vendor packet so I can send it to their finance team. So those are the important ones that I have to have from you. There's some other forms that I have to fill out that I have my own checklist for, but these are the ones that you're responsible to getting me. And this is just more information here on the breakdown of those. So for your itemized invoice, these are just some best practices from the state, from FEMA. It must show the type of safe room. It must show all the charges, including any add-ons. So if you're adding anything extra, have them listed there, even if it's not eligible. Like we talked about, right? You're going to put a generator, you're going to have custom paint, landscaping. They can leave all of that in there. That's okay. That's preferred. We just have to remove those dollar amounts from the total that we submit. But it's best to have a full invoice from the beginning. And then keep your building permit fee. If there was work done during the installation for your safe room by other companies, someone else was coming in to do the landscaping or someone else was pouring the concrete, get invoices from all of them as well. But typically it's one installer who is going to do all the work. It must say invoice. It cannot be a receipt. The total amount billed on the invoice must match the total amount shown by the proof of payment exactly, right? So just finance things, the numbers need to add up exactly or match exactly. That certificate of installation, you get this from your installer after the safe room is complete. If they don't have one, you can give them the state's version that is attached at the very end of this document for them to fill out. Everything must be completed. FEMA wants the GPS coordinates to the 5th decimal degree, which your installer should do that anyway. The form must be notarized. Installers don't love that, but just make sure that they get it notarized. Here's an example. I know it's really small, but there's also an example very large at the end of this document. Your proof of payment. Keep your proof of payments. Even if it was stuff that's not eligible costs, just give all of it to me and we'll determine later what's eligible and what's not eligible. If there was work done by a different company and you paid for it, make sure to give me that proof of payment as well. The following are acceptable forms of proof of payment. The front and back of canceled checks, right? Once you've given them a check, they've cashed it, you can get a copy of the canceled check. A screenshot of your online banking account activity reflecting the charges. Your name must be visible on the screenshot, but for safety reasons, and I would do the same thing if it was my bank account, right? You can cover the actual bank account information. Nobody needs to see that, but we do need to see Bank of America, Lauren Sanchez, with those charges and the dates reflected. Your credit card statements reflecting the charges. All account numbers and non-safe room related charges may be blacked out. I would recommend that you do that. Your check image from your bank statement reflecting the name and the date. If it was paid in cash, make sure they gave you an invoice or a receipt that shows it was paid in cash with a 0 balance due. Not all of these are required, right? Just depending on how you choose to pay, give me at least one of these things. And the total proof of payment must match the amount that was on your invoice. Your Lancaster vendor packet, I will either email that to you, mail it to you, drop it off at your house if we need to. Kind of later into the process of you building your safe room, once you're kind of getting close to being done, I'll get that over to you so you can fill it out, send it back to me. I'll get it to Lancaster. They'll get you added in their system, and then you're just ready to go once they have funds to give you. Okay, so this is the actual application right here, and I'm noticing that this is not the fillable version like I thought it was. But I can send that to you. If you'd rather have the fillable where you just click on your computer and type, please send me an email. I have it ready to send you, and we'll get that updated on this website as well. So here's the application. It tells you a little bit more. It's going to be processed in the order that it was received. It must follow all criteria that's in the guidelines. Make sure you submit your proof of ownership documentation. So give me your street address. At the time of application, is your home over 45 years old? If it is, that's okay. Let me know. If it's not, that's okay. If it is it registered as a historical home? If the answer is no, that's fine. If the answer is yes, there's extra steps that we have to take to make sure that you're eligible for this program, because those homes are protected against construction. So there's just extra work you got to do. Homeowner information. Who's going to be the primary point of contact? I would list this person, if it's feasible, as the same person who's listed on the proof of home ownership that you're going to send me, or at least make sure that your secondary point of contact is the person listed on the home ownership. I recommend, if it's feasible, have 2 points of contact. Maybe you finally take a vacation this summer, and maybe your other point of contact is someone I can reach out to. Or if you're both on vacation together, right, that's fine, and I can wait till you get back to talk to you. But having 2 people listed, or at least multiple ways to communicate with you, would be great. And then you are signing here that you agree to comply with all the program guidelines, terms, and conditions as laid out in this guideline. You would print your name here and sign. If you're going to print this out and deliver it to me, the fillable version, you just type your name again, and it says down here that that is going to serve as your signature. And this application is the only page out of this whole packet that I need back April 1st and later with your proof of home ownership. Attachment 3, this is the state of Texas certificate of installation that I told you about. If your installer does not have their own form, then you can use this form. You don't fill this out as the homeowner. You give this to the installer. They're going to fill it out. But just so you're kind of aware, they're going to put the information of your home and then information about the safe room, which is important. Is it above ground, underground? Who manufactured it? What's the model number? Who did the installation, et cetera, et cetera. And then the installer is going to sign, and then this is where it needs to get notarized. This helps protect you, right? As the homeowner, this is going to be your safe room and your legal document. But this is the state version. The installer's versions might look a little different with their logos, but it's going to capture the exact same information. And with that, we made it to the last page of this. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to open it up for any questions that anybody might still have. Okay, not hearing any. Hopefully everyone is still on, and I'm not just talking to myself. I see a couple people still on here. Thank you guys so much. My information, actually, I'm going to share that one more time just so you guys have it in case you missed it. I'll leave it on the screen. Let's go to the website. My information is on the website as well. So if you have a question, think of it. My contact information is down here at the bottom. But with that, I thank you all so much for joining, and I'll stay on in case anyone has a question pop up.
Thank you so much, Lauren.
Thank you so much. You have a good evening.
Thanks. Bye-bye.